for today is Dr. Ankur Awadhiya. Please inform to all who not joined still.
Let us begin with
Good evening
that
to
no
dear
human
delegates.
being
Please,
had ever
may I
seen
request you to switch on
before
your cameras, please?
1968. Take a moment to look at it. The Earth rising above the moon. Before photographs like this, we knew that Earth was a planet. We had
Ashish,
measured
can you
it,
just pause the video?
mapped it, and calculated its movement through space.
Ashish,
But seeing it altogether was a very different experience. There were no borders in that photograph, no separate forests, farms, or cities. Just one small, living world surrounded by darkness. That distant view changed something in us. It made our planet seem beautiful, but also finite, fragile, and it revealed a powerful truth.
Join हो
Sometimes, to understand something familiar, we need to see it from an unfamiliar point of view. That is what this lecture is about.
Siddharth, can you
It is
can you
about
just pause
management,
it for a moment,
but
please?
not management as a collection of rules and files. It is about the choices we make when something valuable has been placed in our care. And it is about having a third eye. Not a physical eye, not one particular machine. The third eye is our ability to observe what was once hidden, recognizing what is changing, and using that knowledge to make better decisions. Because the quality of a decision often begins with the quality of our attention. When I was about your age, I did not imagine that forests would become such an important part of my life. I studied engineering and technology at IIT.
Good evening to everyone.
Good evening, sir.
Dr.
Good evening,
Ankur
sir.
Awadhiya is with us, dear children, and we are.
So,
I'll just be introducing Dr. Ankur Awadhiya to you, and it is because he is at a place where there is slight difficulty in connectivity. So he has recorded a session. He's here with you by way of abundant caution. It is such a pleasure to have him with us here. Uh, and I would just be introducing him to you. Dear children, it is really a great pleasure to have him because it was a Sunday and I was finding it slightly difficult to request him also because of the schedules which all of us have. I'll just. So, Dr. Ankur Awadhiya, dear friends, is a member of the Indian Forest Service, as you already know, and he is from the 2000 batch IFS in Madhya Pradesh. But that's not his only qualification, it goes far and beyond. He is presently serving as the Deputy Director of the Forest Survey of India. He is B.Tech and Ph.D. from IIT Kanpur and is an associate of the Indira Gandhi National Forest Academy, Dehradun. He has a postgraduate diploma in advanced wildlife management from the Wildlife Institute of India. His qualifications from he's got certificates from Harvard, from MIT, from Oxford, Cambridge, Duke, and the University of Pennsylvania, and also from IIM Ahmedabad in data science, in artificial intelligence, in finance management, and in intellectual property law. He is author of 6 books published by Taylor and Francis publications on machine learning, on wildfires, on wildlife conservation, on distance sampling, and various other subjects. So it is really a pleasure and an honor for all of us to have Dr. Ankur Awadhiya with us. Thank you, Dr. Ankur, for to be with us today. And because of his difficulty and a possible doubt that there would be difficulty in connectivity, he has recorded the video for the session and he shared it with in advance. But may I request Dr. Ankur to please explain it right, and then we'll play the video as well for the students.
sure. Thank you, Anshuman.
Welcome, sir.
So, when we talk about management with the third eye, what is a third eye? We all have two eyes. So, third eye is basically a new perspective, a new way of looking at things. Now, how can we get that third eye? We can get it through things like technology. So, for instance, if we make use of radar sensors or lidar sensors or multispectral sensors, that is a new way of looking at things. We can also make use of technologies like artificial intelligence or machine learning to help us make sense of things. So, for instance, we can take data from various different sources. We have different kinds of maps, we have satellite readings, we also have geographical readings. We put all of them together into a geographic information system. And that also helps us make sense of things in ways that are not possible just with human eyes. So, in this way, when we talk about management with the third eye, it is management not just using satellites and not just using new scientific equipments, but also with a new perspective. So, in the lecture, we'll begin with a view that humans first got with the Apollo program. So, what happened there was that there was a spacecraft and it was sent to get pictures of the moon. But when the astronauts saw the Earth rising above the moon, above the lunar landscape, they first saw that out there on the moon, it's all barren, it's all gray. Not a single leaf, not a single plant, no animals, no life there. And then out there on the horizon, you see a blue colored Earth. Now,
Network issue.
these kinds of images, they led to the environmental movement. They first led us to the realization that our Earth is a fragile planet. If we lose it, we cannot go and occupy the moon because the moon is not livable. We cannot go to some other planets. So these kinds of things give us a new perspective, a new way of looking at things, and that is what today's lecture will be covering.
If you want us to share the video, we can, but we want to take the privilege of listening it directly from you. So I will be sharing the video definitely. If during course you feel that we should start the sharing of the video, we'll do that immediately.
And what we can do is we can start with the video, and
Right.
wherever I feel like any interjection is required, we'll just pause it and then we'll
Fair,
interact. And
fair enough.
at the end, in any case, we'll be there for question and answers.
Would it be possible from your end to share the video so that you can have control of it?
No, no, it's better that you do it from your
Or
end.
I am a technologically challenged person, sir. I am not as skillful as you are, but I'll ask one of my friends, right, sir, to do it. Just give me
All all are all are requested to please switch on your cameras.
great. Please, children, please take notes while your session is going on. This is very valuable information. You are hearing from somebody who's done it himself. Apart from the qualifications, it's not just that the qualifications. He's done it himself, and I'll share those information also with you. Please, Ashish, can you start with the video, please, Shashank?
Let us begin with a view that no human being had ever seen before 1968. Take a moment to look at it. The Earth rising above the moon. Before photographs like this, we knew that Earth was a planet. We had measured it, mapped it, and calculated its movement through space. But seeing it altogether was a very different experience. There were no borders in that photograph, no separate forests, farms, or cities. Just one small, living world surrounded by darkness. That distant view changed something in us. It made our planet seem beautiful, but also finite, fragile, and it revealed a powerful truth. Sometimes, to understand something familiar, we need to see it from an unfamiliar point of view. That is what this lecture is about. It is about management, but not management as a collection of rules and files. It is about the choices we make when something valuable has been placed in our care. And it is about having a third eye. Not a physical eye, not one particular machine. The third eye is our ability to observe what was once hidden, recognizing what is changing, and using that knowledge to make better decisions. Because the quality of a decision often begins with the quality of our attention. When I was about your age, I did not imagine that forests would become such an important part of my life. I studied engineering and technology at IIT Kanpur. It taught me to look at a difficult problem and ask, can I understand its parts? Can I measure what is happening? Can I design a solution? And then when I joined the Forest Service, nature taught me a second lesson. Not every problem that can be solved is equally worth solving. A forest officer may deal with fires, wildlife, water, villages, laws, roads, maps, and technology, sometimes all on the same day. These problems do not remain politely separated into school subjects. Nature, I have found, has very little respect for our timetables. A forest fire does not ask whether you studied biology or computer science. A threatened animal does not care whether its protector is an engineer, a lawyer, or a teacher. That is why I value learning across disciplines. Engineering taught me how to solve problems, and forests taught me which problems actually matter. Your own journey may take an unexpected turn too. What you study today may not determine the title of your future job, but it will shape the way you think. And that way of thinking may become useful somewhere you cannot yet imagine. No subject has to remain inside the classroom where you first met it. Look at the flower on the screen. To us, it appears delicate and purple. But a bee does not see exactly the same flower. Bees can detect ultraviolet patterns that human eyes cannot. Some flowers have markings in ultraviolet that guide a bee towards nectar, almost like the lights along an airport runway. The pattern was there all along. We simply, however, could not see it. Now imagine a forest fire at night. Smoke may obscure the flames. Darkness may hide the ground. But a thermal camera can still reveal the fire. Not because it sees ordinary light, but because it detects differences in heat. Again, the reality was already there, only our perception was limited. Our eyes are remarkable, but they detect just a narrow part of the information around us. We cannot see radio waves. We cannot see most of infrared radiation. We cannot look through a cloud or observe an entire country at once. So here is a question worth pausing over. When we cannot see something, does that mean it is absent? Of course not. The world is always larger than the part of it our senses can reach. And science often begins at that boundary between what exists and what we are currently able to observe. Human beings have always invented ways to cross that boundary. Radar sends out signals and listens for their return, allowing us to observe through clouds and darkness. Instruments can detect gases that have no color and may have no smell. Satellites reveal patterns too large for a person standing on the ground to recognize. Some technologies give us new kinds of vision. Others help us combine thousands or even millions of observations. Artificial intelligence can then help us find patterns within that information, rather like face unlock on a phone, recognizing a familiar arrangement of features, or a navigation app studying many roads before suggesting a route. But technology does not replace human perception, it extends it. And an extended sense is valuable only when it is connected to judgment. A satellite may show us that a landscape has changed. It cannot, by itself, decide what that change means for a village, for a river, or for an animal. A computer may identify a pattern, but a human being must still ask, is this pattern meaningful? And what should we do about it? The third eye, then, is not just an instrument. It is technology guided by curiosity, tested against evidence, and directed by responsibility. Before we examine the tools more closely, we need to understand why they matter. Life on Earth has always changed. Species appear, adapt, and sometimes disappear. But a fossil record also reveals periods of extraordinary loss, mass extinctions, in which a large share of life vanished over a relatively short geological time. The dinosaurs disappeared during the most famous of these events, about 66 million years ago. Many scientists now warn that we may be living through another period of unusually rapid extinction. But there is one profound difference. Earlier mass extinctions were caused by natural forces, such as asteroid impacts or immense climatic and geological changes. The present crisis is being driven largely by the activities of just one species, ours. This does not mean every species will disappear tomorrow. Extinction rates are difficult to estimate precisely, especially because we have not identified every species on our planet. But the direction of the evidence is very clear. Species are being lost much faster than the long-term natural background rate. And that should concern us, not only because other forms of life have value, but because our own lives are woven into theirs. And here is the hopeful part. Choices help create the crisis, which means different choices can still change its course. Biologists often summarize the major human pressures on a species using the word hippo, a rather memorable animal for a rather serious list. The most important pressure is often habitat loss. If a wetland is drained, a grassland is converted, or a forest is cleared, the species living there lose the conditions that they need to survive. Then come invasive species, organisms introduced into places where they may spread rapidly because natural controls are missing. Pollution changes water, soil, and air. Human population growth can increase demand for land and resources, although consumption patterns and the choices that societies make are just as important as the numbers alone. And finally, overharvesting occurs when animals, fish, timber, or other resources are removed faster than nature can replace them. These pressures rarely act alone. Imagine a frog living in a small forest pond. Pollution may weaken it. A road may separate it from another breeding site. An invasive predator may reduce its young. A changing climate may shorten the rainy season. Now, none of these pressures has to be dramatic by itself, but together they may push the population beyond recovery. In nature, the most important story is often not one pressure, but the way several pressures meet and interact. A habitat also does not have to disappear completely to stop functioning well. Think of your classroom. Suppose the room still exists, but the air is full of smoke. The drinking water is contaminated. The temperature is unbearable. And constant noise makes communication impossible. Technically, the classroom remains. Practically, it is no longer a suitable place to learn. Habitat degradation works in much the same way. A forest may still look green from a distance, while its streams are polluted, its soil is eroding, invasive plants are spreading, or repeated fires are changing its vegetation. This is one reason simple measurements can mislead us. If we ask only, is there forest or not, we may miss the more important question. What condition is that forest in? Good management begins by asking better questions. Are native plants regenerating? Is water available through the dry season? Can animals feed, breed, and move safely? Are local communities able to depend on the landscape without exhausting it? And so on. A green patch on a map can tell us that vegetation is present, but only closer attention can tell us whether the habitat is truly alive and functioning. Now imagine an unbroken sheet of paper. Make one cut through it, then another. Add a road, a power line, a farm, a mine, and a settlement. Most of the paper may still remain, but it is no longer one continuous sheet. That is habitat fragmentation. Take a moment to follow the sequence on the screen. A road first dissects an intact habitat. Small clearings perforate it. Larger disturbances divide it into fragments. And finally, the smallest or most isolated pieces may disappear through attrition. Now, why does this matter? An animal does not experience habitat as a percentage in a report. It experiences the need to travel from food to water, from shelter to a breeding site, from one seasonal range to another range. And habitat fragmentation changes all of that. A road only a few meters wide can become a dangerous barrier. Small populations may become isolated. Genetic exchange may decline. The edges of a forest become hotter, drier, and more disturbed than its interior. 1,000 small cuts may attract less attention than one enormous clearing. But to an animal trying to move across the landscape, the map has already changed drastically. And this is exactly the kind of slow, scattered change that a third eye can help us recognize. At this point, it would be easy to imagine conservation as a contest between people and nature. But that is a very wrong picture. Look at the connections here. Bees pollinate plants. Rivers supply water. Forests influence local climates, protect soil, and store carbon. Agricultural landscapes produce food. Healthy ecosystems are not just decorations around human society. They are part of the systems that support it. And people are not merely a pressure on those systems. Farmers, forest communities, scientists, students, and citizens can also be their most committed protectors. In fieldwork, one learns quickly that a conservation plan that ignores people will usually fail. If a family depends on a forest, a river, or a grassland, we need to understand that dependence. If a decision transfers all the costs to local communities while benefits go elsewhere, it will be neither fair nor durable. The goal is not to place nature on one side and humanity on the other. It is to build a future in which both can thrive. That requires listening as well as measuring. Technology can show us where a forest is changing. People can help us understand why and whether a solution can last. The earth is changing too quickly and across areas too vast for direct human observation alone. Think about trying to monitor every forest fire in India by placing a person on every hill. Even if that were possible, smoke, darkness, and difficult terrain would still limit what each observer could see. And it would also require rather a lot of hills and people. Some changes occur in inaccessible places. Others are almost invisible at the ground level. A gradual decline in groundwater may become obvious only after years of measurements. A pattern of forest loss may emerge only when hundreds of small clearings are viewed together. And human attention is limited. We become tired. We overlook things. We cannot be everywhere at once. Technology helps us see more, understand better, and act in time. Notice these three stages. Seeing is not enough. We must interpret what we see. Understanding is not enough. We must act while action can still make a difference. A fire alert received after the forest has burnt is merely a record. The same alert received early enough can become a decision. Information is most valuable when it can still change what happens next. But there is no single machine called the third eye. It is more like a team, with each member contributing a different ability. Satellites provide repeated views across huge areas. Drones can examine smaller pieces in finer detail. Camera traps quietly record animals that might avoid people. Thermal measurements reveal heat signatures. Radar can gather useful information through cloud and darkness. GPS collars help researchers understand where animals move. Not because the caller knows why an animal moved, but because a sequence of locations often reveals patterns. LiDAR works a little like measuring a dark room by sending out countless tiny pulses and timing their return. From those distances, we can reconstruct three-dimensional shapes, including the structure of vegetation. And artificial intelligence can help sort, compare, and detect patterns within all this information. But remember, each tool sees only part of the truth. A thermal image cannot replace a field visit. A drone cannot explain a community's needs. An AI model cannot decide what is morally important. Different tools, but one purpose: to see enough of reality and to see it clearly enough to make a wiser choice. Here is the same landscape seen in several ways. The true color image resembles what our eyes would see from above. It helps us recognize familiar features such as vegetation, bare land, and water. A false color image combines information differently. Healthy vegetation may appear bright red, not because the plants are actually red, but because the channels of the image are so selected. This is similar to a weather map. Rain is not naturally blue or yellow on your phone. Colors are assigned so that patterns become easier to understand. Thermal infrared reveals differences related to heat, and radar responds to properties such as surface roughness, structure, and moisture, and it can operate through clouds and at night. So, which image is the correct one? Well, all of them can be correct. They are answering different questions. If you were to ask a doctor to study a broken bone, an X-ray image may be more useful than an ordinary photograph. But that does not make the photograph false. It just means that each image is suited to a different purpose. No single view is complete, but understanding grows when different observations illuminate different parts of the same reality. Now we can see what happens when observations are collected across space and time. Spend a few seconds with the three examples on this slide. The graph at the top left shows a long-term decline in groundwater levels in Punjab. No single well or single year could reveal the whole story. The pattern emerges because satellite measurements are repeated. At the bottom left, forest fire activity in Madhya Pradesh changes through the season. Instead of treating every month as equally dangerous, managers can identify the period when readiness matters most. On the map to the right, many fire detections in Shiopur appear concentrated outside forest land, particularly in agricultural areas. A dot tells us that heat was detected, and the surrounding landscape helps us ask what may have caused it. This is an essential scientific habit. Do not stop at the first interpretation. A satellite fire alert may represent a wildfire, but it may also represent crop residue burning or another intense heat source. It is an evidence but not a verdict. Good management combines multiple layers together: time, location, land use, weather, and field knowledge. One observation gives us an event. Repeated observations placed in context give us an understanding. In November 2018, the town of Paradise in California was devastated by the Camp Fire. The images here show the fire through two different views. The true color image helps us recognize smoke and the landscape beneath it. In the false color view, the fire's effects and active burning area become much easier to distinguish. Notice how differently the same event appears. During a disaster, the most familiar image is not always the most informative one. A firefighter needs to know more than whether smoke is present. Where is the active front? In which direction is the fire moving? Which areas may be threatened next? Are roads still usable or not? Where should limited people and equipment be sent? And so on. Technology does not and cannot remove the danger or grief of such an event, but it can reduce uncertainty. And reducing uncertainty can save us time. In an emergency, seeing differently is not an academic exercise. It can guide evacuations, protect responders, and help direct resources towards the places of greatest need. The real value of an image is not how impressive it looks, but what it allows someone to do. Many environmental changes begin quietly. A few trees disappear, a small mine expands, one wetland edge is filled, a forest burns and then burns again before it has recovered, and so on. Viewed separately, each change may seem extremely minor. Viewed as a sequence, a pattern emerges. Repeated satellite images allow us to compare the same place over time. It is rather like scrolling through old photographs on a phone and suddenly noticing how much someone has grown. The change was happening every day, but comparison makes it visible. The examples here include deforestation, illegal mining, encroachment, repeated burning, and wetland loss. Each leaves a different signature, a different footprint. Early detection does not automatically solve these problems. An alert may still need verification. The causes must be understood. Laws, livelihoods, and ecological conditions must all be considered. But early knowledge does create options for us. A small fire may be controlled. A new clearing may be investigated. A wetland channel may be protected before it is blocked completely. Once a species is extinct or an ecosystem has crossed a critical threshold, no technology can simply press undo. The right time to notice change is while the future of that place is still open to change. Let us now follow the complete journey. A machine learning system may combine weather, vegetation, terrain, and the history of fires to estimate where fire risk is high. Data analysis can reveal trends and possible causes. Maps can show where action is most urgent. But prediction is not the destination. Management begins when information changes what we do. Suppose 10 locations need attention, but only 3 teams are available. evidence can help decide where those teams will have the greatest impact. If an alert reaches a response team quickly, that team may prevent a small event from becoming a disaster. And this is the bridge from knowing to doing. During my years working with the forest fire management, I saw how valuable that bridge could be. A map on a screen mattered only if it reached the right person in a form that they could understand early enough to guide action on the ground. The best system is not necessarily the one with the most complicated technology. It is the one that works when a real person needs to make a difficult decision. Better data, better priorities, faster response, and we hope better outcomes for both people and nature. These images show what real working tools often look like. At the top left is a fire map of Satpura Tiger Reserve, divided into management units. It helps turn scattered fire observations into a spatial pattern. Which areas burn repeatedly? Which locations may need stronger prevention or quicker response? We find that the central parts have much less fire, so they are in green, while edges get much more fires, so they are in red. On the right, information is placed over three-dimensional terrain. A fire location on a steep mountain is not the same operational problem as one beside an accessible road. Terrain affects visibility, travel time, and the possible movement of fire. The heat map below highlights patterns of forest loss around Balaghat. Instead of searching an enormous landscape without direction, officers can focus attention where change appears concentrated. The lower image relates to sand mining locations seen through satellite imagery. We can even observe vehicles and machines removing sand from a wildlife habitat. I have helped develop systems for problems like these. A useful map, however, does not finish the investigation, but it sure helps us ask the next question with greater precision. Overall, conservation is far too important to be left to conservation professionals alone. It needs the support of every discipline. An engineer can design cleaner infrastructure or perhaps better sensors. A lawyer can strengthen protections and ensure that rules are applied fairly. A doctor can highlight and study the links between ecosystems, animal health, and human health. Teachers can turn concern into understanding. Economists can reveal costs that ordinary prices ignore. Managers can connect resources, institutions, and people. Scientists can test explanations against evidence. Programmers can build tools that process information at a scale no individual could manage. And students bring something equally valuable: questions that experienced people may have stopped asking. You do not need to wait until you have a degree or a job title before contributing. You can observe biodiversity around your school, examine local changes, reduce waste, learn how evidence is gathered, and question claims that are not supported by it. Different paths do not require different purposes. A healthy planet needs many kinds of intelligence and many people willing to work together. Whatever subject you love, there is probably a way for it to serve something larger than itself. The next important conservation tool may not yet exist as well. It may be developed by someone who is currently sitting in a classroom, wondering whether a lesson in mathematics, biology, or computing or art will ever matter outside an examination. But the truth is, it will matter. Perhaps your third eye will be a low cost sensor that detects polluted water. Perhaps it will be a better way to recognize animal calls, analyze images, or help communities report environmental change. Perhaps it will not be a device at all. It may be a new law, a clearer explanation, a more thoughtful economic model, or a better way of bringing people together. Curiosity is your first tool. Imagination allows you to see possibilities that are not yet visible. But purpose gives those abilities a direction. Try to see more. Think more deeply about what the evidence means. Act more intelligently. Then ask whether your solution improves life beyond your own immediate needs. The future does not arrive fully formed. It takes shape whenever someone notices what others have overlooked and decides that the observation matters. When we hear the word footprint, we may think only of pollution or carbon. But every important decision leaves several kinds of footprints. A road provides access and opportunity, but it can also divide habitat and alter drainage. A mine supports communities by supplying minerals used in everyday life, but it also transforms land and water. A dam can generate power and store water while also changing rivers, sediment, and the movement of species. Cities create homes, schools, and jobs, but they also consume energy, land, and resources. Policies, computer algorithms, and laws also leave footprints. An algorithm may decide which place receives attention first. A law may define who has rights, where a boundary lies, and what behavior is permitted. Management is the discipline of seeing these consequences before they become irreversible. That does not mean never building a road, a city, or a dam. It simply means refusing to pretend that any major choice has only one effect. So see the impact, understand who benefits and who bears the cost. Take responsibility for the trade offs. The decisions that shape the future are also the same decisions about which consequences we are willing to see. Let us return to the image with which we began. Take one last look at the Earth rising above the moon. When that photograph was taken, the astronauts were exploring space. But in many ways, their greatest discovery was not the moon. It was a new way of seeing our own planet. Over the last few minutes, we have seen how satellites, thermal sensors, radar, artificial intelligence, and many other technologies help us observe changes that our eyes cannot. They are powerful tools, no doubt. But they also have one thing in common. They can tell us what is changing. Only we can decide what to do about it. And that is why conservation is not only the responsibility of scientists or forest officers. Whatever career you choose, engineering, medicine, law, business, teaching, research, or public service, you will be making decisions that affect the world around you. My hope is that this lecture has not only introduced you to new technologies, but also encouraged you to look at familiar things a little differently. Because every important decision begins with learning to see. See carefully. think critically, and act responsibly. And perhaps one day you will help someone see the world in an entirely new way. Thank you.
Smita, we're restructuring. Your role is being
Hello.
eliminated.
When?
End of month.
Mom, your access card.
Hello.
Hi.
Am I
Take care,
audible?
Mom. It was always good to see you.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
So our
Lost
next topic
auntie?
is forest
Reception's
management
that way.
with the third eye. Dr. Ankur Awadhiya
So,
has
Smita ji,
completed his
22 years at company.
lectures.
That's
Kindly
a lot of one company.
work
I
on
helped build that
the
department
Sandeep ji,
from
your
four
voice
people
is
to
breaking
40.
a lot.
What
Sure,
you have
sure.
learned.
It's just we move
Sandeep
fast
ji,
here.
your voice
Very
is
AI
probably
first,
because
very
you
young
are
team. Do you
traveling.
think you'd keep up?
Children, if you
Culturally?
have any
Yes, yes, yes.
questions, you are
I
free
use
to ask
ChatGPT
Dr. Ankur
and I'm very
Awadhiya.
strong in Excel, PowerPoint, reporting.
No offense, but my mom still calls me to fix her email.
You are
Just so
the
you
new
know, we have
generation
340
users of
applications
technology.
for this role.
So
Every
you
candidate
must
uses
have questions.
ChatGPT. We'll be in touch.
How many now? 26. Same. Last year.
Do not hesitate,
What
please. Do not
changed? I
hesitate.
stopped
Anything
thinking
that
the
you
market
want to
owed me
ask.
something because of my experience. Experience is the foundation. But the house
मैं
has to be
पूछता हूँ
built with
डॉक्टर
new
साहब आपसे
materials. I don't understand half the
एक
tools
issue
they're
जो
asking
हम और
about.
आप
Neither
साथ
did
में
I.
काफी समय
Cursive,
डील किए, which
AI
was with
certificate
regard to
program,
forest fires,
28
right?
days, 15
Now
minutes a
you
day.
have been
Not
working
just
on the
ChatGPT
application
for everything.
forest fires.
Right tool for each task.
prevention using
Automation,
technology, satellite
agents,
based.
the whole
कितना
stack.
effective है?
My
थोड़ा
output
सा
changed.
बताएं।
My interviews changed. The questions
I
stopped feeling
became
like
the
traps.
nodal officer
Smita,
for
you have
forest fires
22
in
years, they
Madhya
don't
Pradesh.
have. They have the tools,
In the
you can have both. Nobody touches that
2021-22 fire
combination.
season. So basically we have a fire season that starts in November and ends in June. तो उसको हम लोग फायर सीजन बोलते हैं. मुझे तब बनाया गया था when we had 56,000 forest fires in 1 year. So we deployed
I need a full
technologies,
financial analysis, multi-source data, scenario
forecasting,
modeling,
code
client-ready
vaulting,
deck. How long?
and rapid deployment
20
of
minutes.
personnel. तो वो 56,000 से
Go ahead.
अगले फायर सीजन में 35,000.
You set up an agent for this in
And
20
in the
minutes?
very next fire
Most
season,
people
it
use
became
AI like a search
16,000.
engine. The
तो
real
कहाँ
work is the automation,
56,000 और
the
कहाँ
agents,
16,000?
tools that do the repetitive passing.
And
You
then
can
for the
focus on the
next 3
judgment.
years, it remained at
22 years of knowing
16,000.
what clients actually
तो
need.
हमारे आसपास की जो
Plus the
states हैं
tools
उसमें
to build
forest
it
fires वैसे ही
fast.
चलते रहे, but
AI
हमारे यहाँ इतना
certificate
कम हो गया.
program,
So essentially
28 days.
1/3, 1/4 हो गया. So that is
Where
the
did you learn
amount of
this?
impact that we can
15
bring
minutes
about.
a day
Just using technology.
instead of watching the news
additional
after
funding
dinner.
नहीं, सिर्फ लोगों को समय
can
पे
you
ये
start?
बता देना कि यहाँ
Smita.
पे आग लगी है और आप पहले
Good
से यहाँ
first
पे
week.
प्रिपेयर कर लो.
और
Thank
accuracy
you.
of information
Mummy,
आप क्योंकि
how was the first week?
longitudinal
Good.
latitudinal
They have a young
details
team,
देते हैं
fast.
बिल्कुल.
I like it.
उसके साथ में
And the AI tools?
They
can you
asked me
just
to
explain
teach
how
them.
the system works please?
So it is a multi-step process. पहला स्टेप ये होता है कि आप ये बताएं कि आपको लोगों को रखना कहाँ पर है. तो जिसके लिए हम लोगों ने पूरे स्टेट लेवल के फायर मैप्स क्रिएट किए, अपनी वेबसाइट पे होस्ट किए. सो जैसे इस लेक्चर में भी सतपुड़ा टाइगर रिजर्व का एग्जांपल दिखाया था, तो उसमें अगर कोने वाले एरियाज में अगर आग लग रही है, सेंट्रल लोकेशंस पे नहीं लग रही, तो एज अ डीएफओ आई कैन डिसाइड कि अगर मुझे लोगों को डिप्लॉय करना है तो मैं सिर्फ ये कोने में डिप्लॉय करूंगा, सेंटर पोर्शन में नहीं रखूंगा, ताकि जैसी आग लगे वो तुरंत वहां तक पहुंच सके. दैट इज फर्स्ट स्टेप. द सेकंड लेवल इज आपको स्टेट के लेवल पे जब हमारे रिसोर्सेज हैं उसे कहाँ पे चैनलाइज करना है. तो जैसे हम लोगों ने डिवीजन लेवल के मैप्स बनाए, वैसे स्टेट लेवल
देखिए 6 जून 2026 को
आग लग रही है
जंतर
वहां
मंतर
पर
पे
आप
कांग्रेस
ज्यादा
जनता पार्टी का प्रोटेस्ट स्टार्ट हुआ.
ऐसा नहीं कि
तो
कोई
इसके
बराबर
22 दिन बाद
फिर
28
तीसरा हमारा
जून
जो
को
लेयर था,
सबसे बड़ा
that
टर्निंग
was
पॉइंट आता है
real
जब
time
सोनम वांगचुक
alerts.
इस प्रोटेस्ट
जो
को
हम
ज्वाइन
लोगों ने
करके
simplified
हंगर स्ट्राइक
application
स्टार्ट कर
बनाया.
देते हैं.
वो
टर्निंग
ऐसा
पॉइंट
है
इसलिए
कि
क्योंकि
जैसे ही
नॉर्मल
satellite वहां
प्रोटेस्ट
से
में
गुजरता
जैसे
है,
जैसे दिन बढ़ते
within
हैं,
a
गर्मी
period
बढ़ती
of,
है, लोगों को अपना काम वगैरह
0 to
देखना
1
होता है, तो
minute.
टाइम के
जैसे
साथ
कि
साथ
हम लोग
भीड़
बोलते हैं
कम
on an
होने
average
लगती है
30
और
seconds
प्रोटेस्ट
के भीतर
दब जाता है.
लोगों
गवर्नमेंट
को
पे
ये
उतना
पता चल
प्रेशर
जाता
नहीं
है
पड़ता.
कि यहाँ
ज्यादा
पर
कुछ
आग
होता है तो
लगी.
बिजली काट दो, पानी
तो
बंद कर दो,
आग के साथ ये
टॉयलेट
होता है
हटा
कि
दो,
जब से उसकी
भीड़
शुरुआत
खुद
होती है,
परेशान
बहुत
होकर
छोटी
चली जाती है.
शुरुआत
लेकिन
होती है
हंगर
उसकी.
स्ट्राइक
तो
अगर
अगर
बहुत ज्यादा
छोटी
दिन
सी
तक
आग
बढ़
है तो
जाए
उसमें आप
तो
एक लोटा
गवर्नमेंट
पानी
पे
भी
इसका
डालेंगे तो
उल्टा
आग
असर
बुझ
होता है,
जाएगी.
ज्यादा प्रेशर बनता है.
बट
लोग
समय के
जब एक
साथ वो
आदमी
बढ़ते
को
जाता
रोज
है.
मरने जैसी हालत में
आफ्टर
देखते
अ वाइल
हैं
अगर
तो
आप
पब्लिक
तुरंत नहीं
ओपिनियन
पहुंचे तो
गवर्नमेंट के
आपकी
खिलाफ
आग
हो
इतनी
जाता
फैल
है
चुकी
और
रहेगी
ये
कि
चीज
आप
गवर्नमेंट को
पूरे
कभी
जगह
पसंद
पे
नहीं
एक
आती.
साथ
और
आप
एग्जैक्टली
act नहीं
यही
कर
चीज
सकते.
सोनम
तो
वांगचुक के केस में
सिंप्लीफायर
हुई.
became a very
12
big
जुलाई के बाद जब
tool
सोनम
in our
वांगचुक की हंगर
arsenal,
स्ट्राइक
जिसमें
ने
हम
2 वीक
तुरंत
क्रॉस
बता
किए थे
देते हैं.
तो बीजेपी
और
गवर्नमेंट
उसमें
के
भी
ऊपर
हमको
लोगों का
latitude,
प्रेशर
longitude
बढ़ने
भी
लगा.
बताता.
गवर्नमेंट के
वो
सामने
पूरा
दिक्कत ये
नक्शे पे
थी
ही
कि
उसे plot
गवर्नमेंट
करके दे
वांगचुक
देता
को
है.
ऐसे छोड़ नहीं
क्योंकि
सकती
latitude,
थी.
longitude
डे
को भी
बाय
आपको
डे
कभी
लोगों
ना
की सिंपैथी
कभी plot करना
वांगचुक के
पड़ता
साथ
था.
जा रही थी.
तो वो उस
और
process
अगर
को भी हमने
गलती से
automate
भी
कर
उनको
दिया.
कुछ हो जाता
So
तो
that
एक
was the
अवार्ड
next
विनिंग
level.
एक्टिविस्ट गवर्नमेंट की
उसका
आंखों के सामने देश की राजधानी में भूखा मर गया। ये लाइन बीजेपी गवर्नमेंट का कभी पीछा नहीं छोड़ती। और अगर दूसरे ऑप्शन में पुलिस भेज के जबरदस्ती करके टेंट वगैरह हटा दिया जाता, सबको भगा दिया जाता, तो एक 60 साल का आदमी जो वायलेंस नहीं कर रहा है, शांति से लेटा हुआ है, उससे लोग गवर्नमेंट से और ज्यादा गुस्सा होते। और तीसरा ऑप्शन ये था कि धर्मेंद्र प्रधान को रेजिग्नेशन करवा दो, सब अपने आप बंद हो जाएगा। लेकिन उसमें भी दिक्कत ये थी कि बीजेपी गवर्नमेंट वीक दिखेगी। ऑपोजिशन में एक ऐसा मैसेज जाता कि अगर ढंग से प्रोटेस्ट करवा दिया तो इस गवर्नमेंट को कभी नहीं झुकाया जा सकता। इनफैक्ट डिफेंस मिनिस्टर ने खुद कहा था कि ये एनडीए की सरकार है, यहाँ मंत्रियों के इस्तीफे नहीं होते। तो जो टाइम चल रहा था, इस टाइम पे इसी तरीके की जद्दोजहद चल रही थी। इन सारे ऑप्शन में से किसी एक ऑप्शन को चूज करने की बजाय प्रोटेस्ट के अंदर एक अलग चीज हो जाती है। होता क्या है कि 15 जुलाई को दिल्ली हाई कोर्ट में एक पीआईएल डाली जाती है कि वांगचुक जो है उनकी हालत बहुत खराब हो गई है, जान तक जाने का रिस्क है, उनको फोर्स फीडिंग करवाई जानी चाहिए ताकि उनकी जान बच सके। लेकिन इसमें अब ध्यान देने वाली बात यह है कि जो पीआईएल डाली थी, ना तो वांगचुक की किसी दोस्त ने डाली थी, ना फैमिली, ना सीजेपी ने, बल्कि एक प्राइवेट फर्म के एडवोकेट राकेश कुमार सैन ने डाली, जिनका वांगचुक से दूर दूर तक कोई लेना देना नहीं था। और बस यहीं से सोशल मीडिया पे ट्वीट शुरू हो गए और ये क्लेम होने लगे कि पीआईएल बीजेपी ने करवाई ताकि वांगचुक को हटाने का लीगल रास्ता देखा जाए। लेकिन ऑनलाइन प्रेजेंस उसमें इनका लिंक बीजेपी से आ गया। तो अब जब ये पीआईएल डली तो इसके अगले दिन 16 जुलाई को कोर्ट ने ऑर्डर दे दिया कि सोनम वांगचुक के केस में मेडिकल इंटरवेंशन की जरूरत है। लेकिन इस ऑर्डर में एक चीज याद रखिएगा कि इस ऑर्डर में कहीं भी फोर्स फीडिंग या वांगचुक को प्रोटेस्ट साइट से हटाने की बात नहीं की गई थी। लेकिन जब ये ऑर्डर आया तो गोली की स्पीड से काम होना शुरू हो गया। सेम डे आरएमएल, सफदरजंग और लेडी हार्डिंग मेडिकल कॉलेज को सेलेक्ट करके आरएमएल को नोडल हॉस्पिटल बनाया गया और सुबह शाम वांगचुक की हेल्थ की मॉनिटरिंग स्टार्ट हो गई। देखिए ये तो वो काम था जो फाइल पे दिख रहा था, लेकिन सेम टाइम पे कुछ चीजें और हो रही थी जो फाइल पे नहीं थी। जब ये सारी चीजें चल रही थी तो इस टाइम पे दिल्ली के पुलिस कमिश्नर थे सतीश गोलचा और इनके नीचे जो डिपार्टमेंट था, जो पूरी सिचुएशन चल रही थी इसको लेके कुछ तैयारी कर रहे थे। अब वो तैयारी क्या कर रहे थे ये भी बाहर नहीं आया, लेकिन तैयारी चल रही थी। और इसी से रिलेटेड कुछ डिटेल जो थी वो डिपार्टमेंट से लीक हो गई। अब इसके अगले ही दिन 17 जुलाई को यूनियन होम मिनिस्ट्री ने सतीश गोलचा को हटा के उनकी जगह आईबी के स्पेशल डायरेक्टर अनुराग कपूर को दिल्ली पुलिस कमिश्नर बनाया गया। सतीश गोलचा जो थे उनका टेन्योर 2027 तक था। एक कमिश्नर को ऐसे बीच में हटाया जाना नॉर्मल चीज नहीं है। इस इंसिडेंट से आप इस पूरी सिचुएशन की इमरजेंसी से बहुत बड़ी आम आदमी पार्टी के संजय सिंह ने डायरेक्ट एलिगेशन लगाया कि ये सब वांगचुक को अरेस्ट करवाने के लिए किया जा रहा है। देखिए 16 जुलाई को कोर्ट का ऑर्डर आया, 17 तारीख को दिन में सतीश गोलचा को हटा के अनुराग कुमार को पुलिस कमिश्नर बनाया गया। मतलब कि कुछ घंटे पहले अनुराग कुमार आईबी में थे। इनकी पूरी जिंदगी इस तरीके के सीक्रेट प्लान बनाने में गुजरी और कमिश्नर बनने के कुछ ही घंटों बाद यानी कि 17 जुलाई को रात को इन्होंने जितने भी न्यू दिल्ली डिस्ट्रिक्ट के स्पेशल कमिश्नर ऑफ पुलिस थे इन सबको एक मीटिंग के लिए बुलाया और इसी मीटिंग में सोनम वांगचुक को जंतर मंतर से उठाने का प्लान बना। यहाँ पे क्वेश्चन ये है कि ये जो प्लान था ये आखिर था क्या? देखिए ये जो प्रोटेस्ट साइट थी वहाँ पे पुलिस ने हर जगह पे सर्विलांस कैमरा लगा रखे थे। बहुत सारे पुलिस वाले सिविल यूनिफॉर्म में प्रोटेस्टर्स के बीच में घूम रहे थे। कॉकरोच जनता पार्टी के जितने भी मेंबर थे उन सब का रूटीन फॉलो किया जा रहा था। कभी खाना खा रहे थे, कभी सो रहे थे, कहाँ जा रहे थे, नहाते कहाँ थे, किस टाइम स्टेज पे कम भीड़ रहती थी, ये सारी चीजें फॉलो हो रही थी। तो ये सारी चीजें जब फॉलो कर रहे थे तो इनको पता चला कि मॉर्निंग में 6 बजे के आसपास का जो टाइम होता है इसमें एक छोटी सी विंडो होती है जिसमें सीजेपी के फाउंडर अभिजीत दीपके स्टेज पे नहीं रहते और ये एक लौती ऐसी विंडो थी जिसमें सोनम वांगचुक के आसपास सबसे कम वॉलंटियर्स रहते हैं। तो एज पर इंडिया टुडे मॉर्निंग के इसी स्पेसिफिक टाइम को सेलेक्ट किया गया सोनम वांगचुक को उठाने के लिए, सॉरी मेडिकल इंटरवेंशन के लिए। अब देखिए यहाँ से जब टाइम वगैरह सब सेलेक्ट हो गया तो इसके बाद सबसे इंपॉर्टेंट चीज थी इस पूरे ऑपरेशन को सीक्रेट रखना। तो इसके लिए हायर अथॉरिटी जो थी इन्होंने क्या किया कि सेम टाइम पे यानी कि 17 जुलाई को रात को 11 बजे न्यू दिल्ली डिस्ट्रिक्ट के जितने भी एसएचओस थे उनके पास एक मैसेज भेजा कि 20 तारीख से पार्लियामेंट का सेशन शुरू हो रहा है। तो इसके लिए आप सब लोग अपने साथ 10 पुलिस वाले लेके मॉर्निंग में 3 बजे पार्लियामेंट स्ट्रीट थाना जो है वहां पे पहुंचना। और जब ये मैसेज डाला गया 11 बजे के करीब मैसेज डाला गया था, इन्हीं सबके बीच में 1 घंटे बाद 12:03 पे प्रोटेस्ट साइट से सोनम वांगचुक ने भी एक वीडियो अपलोड कर दी जिसमें उन्होंने कहा कि 20 जुलाई को सब लोगों को इकट्ठा होकर पार्लियामेंट की तरफ मार्च करना है। तो अब इसके कुछ ही देर बाद 3 बजने वाले थे और जैसे ही मॉर्निंग में 3 बजे उस समय 18 जुलाई हो चुकी थी, सारे एसएचओज अपने साथ 10-10 पुलिस वाले लेके जैसा डिसाइड हुआ था पार्लियामेंट स्ट्रीट थाने पे इकट्ठा हो जाते हैं। इन सब में से किसी को अभी तक ये नहीं पता था कि इन लोगों को ही वांगचुक को प्रोटेस्ट साइट से उठाना है। तो इसके बाद यहीं से इन सबको मंदिर थाने पे ले जाया और फिर वहां पहुंचने के बाद न्यू दिल्ली डिस्ट्रिक्ट के डीसीपी सचिन शर्मा ने इन लोगों को पहली बार पूरे ऑपरेशन के बारे में बताया कि यहाँ पे कोई पार्लियामेंट की ड्रिल वगैरह नहीं होनी है। सोनम वांगचुक की तबीयत खराब है, उसकी वजह से प्रोटेस्ट साइट पे जाना है, वहां से उनको उठा के हॉस्पिटल ले जाना है और इस पूरे ऑपरेशन को 30 सेकंड के अंदर करना है, उससे ज्यादा नहीं लगना चाहिए। और इसको इस तरीके से करना है कि कोई भी यूट्यूबर या इन्फ्लुएंसर फोटोग्राफ वगैरह ना ले पाए। इस पूरे ऑपरेशन को मिलिट्री स्टाइल लेयर्ड ऑपरेशन की तरह डिजाइन किया गया है। एज पर इंडिया टुडे इसमें इन्होंने 3 लेयर बनाई। सबसे अंदर वाली जो लेयर थी उसमें 30 से 35 स्पेशल स्टाफ और लोकल पुलिस थी। इन लोगों को वर्दी की जगह ऐसे कपड़े पहनने थे कि जिससे ये डॉक्टर लगे। इन लोगों को वहां पे जाके एक व्हाइट चादर से वॉल बनानी थी ताकि कोई भी फोटो ना ले सके और उस वॉल के अंदर ही पूरा का पूरा ऑपरेशन कंप्लीट करना था। और फिर वांगचुक को एम्बुलेंस में बिठा के ले जाना था। कौन वांगचुक को उठाएगा, कौन व्हाइट चादर से वॉल बनाएगा, कौन स्टेज पे होगा, कौन एम्बुलेंस के पास होगा, सबका काम फिक्स था। इसके बाद जो दूसरी लेयर थी उसमें सीआरपीएफ और आरएएफ की टीम थी। इनका टास्क था अगर बैरिकेड एरिया के बाहर प्रोटेस्टर्स कुछ हरकत करने लगे तो उसको कंट्रोल करना। और तीसरी लेयर में सीनियर ऑफिसर थे जिनको एम्बुलेंस और पुलिस वैन के कंट्रोल पॉइंट पे खड़े होकर अगर कुछ गड़बड़ होती है तो वहीं से कमांड देना। और इसके बाद एग्जिट प्लान भी था। ट्रैफिक पुलिस को भी इंस्ट्रक्शन दे दिए गए थे कि प्रोटेस्ट साइट से लेकर सफदरजंग हॉस्पिटल तक जब तक ऑपरेशन चलेगा पूरा रूट क्लियर रहेगा, उस टाइम पे ट्रैफिक नहीं रहेगा, कोई रेड लाइट नहीं रहेगी। तो ये सारी चीजें डिसाइड होने के बाद जो अगले 1-2 घंटे थे ये लोग पूरे प्लान की मॉक ड्रिल करते हैं और फिर 5 बजे डेप्यूटी कमिश्नर ऑफ पुलिस न्यू दिल्ली ये फाइनल ब्रीफिंग देते हैं। और ये ब्रीफिंग देने के बाद एम्बुलेंस और फोन जैमर और पूरी टीम धीरे धीरे करके प्रोटेस्ट साइट पे पहुंचने लगती है। और फिर प्रोटेस्ट साइट पे पहुंच के ये लोग अभिजीत दिपके का प्रोटेस्ट साइट से उठ के जाने का वेट करते हैं। इसके साथ साथ एक और सीनियर थी जो प्रोटेस्ट साइट पे कैमरास लगे थे, उनसे ये सारी चीजें लाइव देख रही है। अब जब ये सारे लोग वेट कर रहे थे तो 6:30 पे अभिजीत दिपके स्टेज से उठते हैं और थोड़ी दूर पे ही झंडेवालान में एनसीपी स्पोक्स पर्सन अनीश के घर की तरफ निकल जाते हैं। अभिजीत दिपके के निकलते ही पूरे एरिया में मोबाइल इंटरनेट वगैरह बंद कर दिया जाता है। और फिर स्पेशल स्टाफ और लोकल पुलिस की एक टीम स्टेज की तरफ पहुंचती है और सेम टाइम पे दूसरी टीम दिपके जिस घर में गए थे वहां पे जाके दिपके को हाउस अरेस्ट कर लेती है। अब देखिए जो पूरी टीम सिविल ड्रेस में स्टेज पे चढ़ी तो शुरू में तो लोगों ने सोचा कि ये रेगुलर हेल्थ चेकअप के लिए आए होंगे, लेकिन फिर ये लोग स्टेज पे चढ़ने के बाद वाइट चादर से वॉल बना के वांगचुक को उठाना स्टार्ट करते हैं। तो उस टाइम पे लोग रेजिस्ट करना स्टार्ट करते हैं। कुछ लोग मोबाइल से वीडियो बनाने की भी कोशिश करते हैं तो उनके मोबाइल छीन लिए जाते हैं। वहां पे जो लोग थे उन्होंने बाद में बताया कि वहां पे झड़प भी हुई, उनको मारा भी गया। ये इमेज में देखिए, ये इधर ये व्हाइट चादर से इन्होंने वॉल बनाई है, ये इस साइड एम्बुलेंस वेट कर रही है और इधर ये कोई डॉक्टर के कपड़ों में घूम रहे हैं। प्लान ये था कि पूरा ऑपरेशन 30 सेकंड में होगा, लेकिन 30 सेकंड की जगह 2 मिनट से ज्यादा लग गए इस ऑपरेशन में।
आपसे नहीं आएंगे तो एक आध मुकदमे में आपको बुलवाया जाएगा। The children, it has been such a learning experience. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye. Thank you, sir. Thank you to all of you.
और फिर उसके बाद 7:40 पे ये लोग सोनम वांगचुक को सफदरजंग हॉस्पिटल के इमरजेंसी ब्लॉक के 8th फ्लोर